Mark, you've talked about efficiency offensively, not just being shot making, but shot locations, assist to turnover. What did you make of the efficiency you had on offense generally tonight?
Yeah, we were a lot better, obviously. I thought some of that was just us playing better. We just didn't play a great game there tonight. Some of that stuff, just watching it on film, you're sitting there like, if we say nothing and do nothing, we'll just play better. And then I did think we got some fundamentals in the game that are critical against this team, and it gave us some cracks. I just thought the overall flow tonight, rhythm, was really good, put everybody at advantages. We had our foot on the gas. It was a real positive game in that respect.
Mark, can you talk about the decision to have Isaiah on Wemby? And it worked great. He was good on both ends. But just what did you see out of that, and how did you see that defensive assignment lining up for you guys?
Well, I thought the other night and in the regular season, having wings on him was effective in the macro. The other night he just had way too much of the restricted. But if you zoom out, they turned the ball over a ton. That we gave up 101 points in regulation. They actually shot pretty well for the quality. The quality of shots were what we would want, other than his stuff at the rim. But two things that just didn't feel good were his stuff at the rim. Just felt too sustainable. And so we have to make some corrections there. It won't be the last time we have a wing on him. We had wings on him a couple possessions tonight. And then the other thing that doesn't feel good is playing Hart 12 minutes. It just didn't feel good to me. But in order to get him extended past that, that's the matchup. And so we decided to start with it. It's never going to be like predetermined that we would do that the whole game. Obviously, Dub going out impacted that too because he's a matchup. So that option was off the table to a degree. We could do Kenrich, but I just didn't feel good about doing that one cold tonight. And Hart was doing great. So that was the thinking in that decision.
With Wemby, seemed like you guys put him in a lot more actions tonight. How much of the game plan was to just make him work a lot more than the other night?
It wasn't a primary thing. I think the bigger emphasis was just like our tempo on offense generally. And if we play with a good tempo, then we're going to get, multiple people in actions on multiple possessions, and they're going to have to work harder collectively. And I thought that's what we got going tonight. So the guys did a great job. We had great juice, great bounce back from a game that was obviously a very emotional, tough game, tough way to lose in game one, and did a great job tonight.
Mark, right here. Obviously, Dub played 38 minutes the other night, had a month off. You lose him tonight after the first quarter. Is him not playing the rest of the series, is that on the table? Like, what's your concern level right now?
He's going to get checked out. I don't deal in like hypotheticals, especially when like doctors are involved. I just let them tell us what's going on. So he'll get checked out in the morning. We'll see where he's at. We'll update accordingly.
Just a quick second one. These are my words, not yours, but it's starting to feel like Shai's game ones are kind of just feel-out games. What do you see change for him tonight in terms of processing, and how much of that was just him recognizing what happened the other night?
Yeah, as a build on what we talked about last game, with him and everybody, I thought globally if our offense was better, everybody would benefit from that, and I thought he benefited from that tonight. That's when you were the one that asked the question the other night about him, and I was saying, like, we have to do a better job, of getting him in advantageous situations, and I thought we did that tonight with the way we ran offense. And then he played better, and there's that part too. So I thought we all played better, and I had a quiet confidence about that. I didn't know if we'd win or lose the game, but I was pretty sure after watching game one and knowing our team that we were going to come out and play better tonight.
Mark, you obviously, you obviously had Dub leave early. They had Harper leave early. You had guys limping off when it was over. They had guys limping off, it felt like, when it was over. Are we already at that game 5 sort of level of attrition in this series? And is that what we all kind of probably should have expected?
No, we're at game 2, and game 3 is coming up next. And game 5 will be after game 4. And because the team's split, there will be a game 5.
Coach, in terms of the confidence in Caruso, it seems like he always rises to these challenges of trying to defend Wemby, attack him at the other end. What about his game allows you to be more flexible in your lineups, and how have you seen him approach this series as a whole?
What I've seen him approach this series is how he approaches everything. He's just got unbelievable focus, and He's just a monster competitor, you know, and like it seems like the bigger the moment, bigger the game, the more he wants to compete in it. And he'll fail, you know, and not blink, and he'll be aggressive in the next game, next possession. He was huge again tonight. You know, obviously the other night he was massive in keeping us in that game. And tonight he played a great floor game, did a great job defensively. His minutes were massive for us.
Jared had a few plays where he was diving on the floor for a loose ball, hustling for offensive boards for you guys running the fast break. Can you kind of just speak to the energy that he provided on both ends?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a great offensive player. He's a great shooter. But in these playoff games, any regular season game, but certainly a playoff game of that level, you have to have a floor game. You know, you have to have a complete game on two ends of the floor. And he's really improved his fundamentals since he's been here in our system. He's learned that, picked it up well, and done a great job there. And then he's got kind of a knack, you know, as just a competitor and as a winner. You know, he sticks his nose in plays. He's got a great nose for the ball, despite his size. Even last game, he had a rebound over the top of a big opposite third bench. That was like a big-time rebound. So he did a great job. You know, I thought he missed some shots that normally would go down for him, but it's so easy to keep him on the court when he competes like that.
Mark, how much of an impact do you think Hartenstein's physicality had in terms of like battling Wemby defensively on the glass, score top screen, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think he did what he does. I don't think it was specific to Wembanyama. He played his game tonight, and that's a physical brand that you have to deal with around the basket. You know, I think the offensive rebounding is a huge thing, that there's great gravity to that as well, you know, and you know, I just thought, again, great professionalism. You know, I grabbed him yesterday to tell him he didn't start out at halftime, so I wanted to grab him yesterday, tell him he was starting on Wembanyama, so that he would go to bed last night with that in mind. And I said, you know, I didn't feel great about you playing 12 minutes last night. And he said, I'll do whatever the team needs me to do. You know, even with me almost, you know, telling him that I was not loving how that felt. So I thought it was the right thing in the moment, but tonight I thought the right thing was rolling with him a little longer.
Got three more for Coach. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, Coach. Alex was obviously great game one and game two, but Kaysen as well was outstanding this evening. Can you just kind of talk about what you saw from him?
Yeah, Kaysen was great tonight. You know, he drilled shots early. He was 3 for first 4, I think. Played a stable game on offense. Kept the blender going when we had advantages. I thought he did a great job on Castle, you know, with the ball pressure and screen navigation. Castle's obviously a really physical player, so you know you have to really, you know, go pick him up, but you got to be able to meet him as well. And Kaysen did a great job with that, but his minutes were massive tonight. He played huge.
Coach, what can you say about the turnover battle? I think you have 14 steals. They only have 9 turnover. You only have 9 turnovers, and you have 14 steals. What can you say about that and the intensity it reflects of the team to be able to win this game too?
Yeah, I mean, the steals are never like an end game for us. And we never talk about not turning it over on offense. We try to keep it on fundamentals and on process, and we just trust that, you know, if we do that, we'll get more shots and better shots than our opponent on most nights. And we were pretty close on that in game one. I thought, you know, we kind of checked that box, but not by a big margin, and it was a larger margin for us tonight. But game 3 is a new game.
Mark, you'd mentioned twice now that you had that feeling that 12 minutes just wasn't enough for Hartenstein.
Yep.
It's basically the least you've played him since you've had him. Why does it feel so good to have him involved? Like, what's the opposite side of that?
I mean, I just think it starts with the guy is like an ultimate compete together player. Like, he's a big time competitor. He's a big time team guy. He'd rather get an assist than score a point. He understands the intricacies of the game, especially on defense. He brings great physicality to both ends of the floor, especially on the glass. He's a great rebounder, great screen setter. You know, he does. If you listed all the skills you wanted for a modern center, like true center, he checks every box. And so, I mean, that's why I love him. And the other thing I love about him is I played him 12 minutes, and you know, he doesn't bat an eye and turns around tonight and plays a great game.
Very last question, Coach.
Regarding Hartenstein, were you able to play more because your offense played with a lot more force? In other words, if you're just spreading the floor and waiting for something to happen, you probably can't have him play that many minutes on offense. It doesn't seem like.
He changes the spacings on the floor for sure, when we're on offense versus when we've got Chet or Jay Will out there or when we're small. So we did both tonight, obviously, and we did the other one much better tonight than we did. If we had processed like that in game one, we would have been better offensively in game one. But he does bring a good dynamic to us. And like I said, he brought his A game tonight in terms of his identity.